Hello everyone, very good evening. Right? Okay. So yesterday we were discussing about some topic, and if you were there, you must have seen those topics. If you were not there in the yesterday session, I'll just give you a quick brief of what we were talking about yesterday, right? Let's get started. So yesterday I was discussing about the few fundamental topics in programming with Python. Right. So when we do the programming, there are some things which is going to be same in multiple languages. That is what we were talking about. So I discussed first some fundamental concepts like how variables are created, how variables stored in the memory. That is what we were discussing, and then some details about what are the basic rules of Python programming that we were talking about. Right. So talking about the rules that we discussed were how to create a variable. If I'm making a variable, I have to give the name of a variable. What are the rules I need to follow? And also, if I have to create multiple variables, then how do I do that? And if I have to, let's say, talk about static and dynamic programming languages, what those are, what they mean, that we were talking about. So if you have not seen the yesterday's video, it will be uploaded on your in the WhatsApp chat. So if you have not joined the WhatsApp group, the link will be shared with you in the chat box, and you can join for that. You can watch the video of yesterday's session. The last thing that we were discussing in yesterday's session was something called as types of data in Python. So whenever you are creating the Python programs or any program in any programming language, so a lot of data you're going to work with, right? And if you want to work on the data, you will store it somewhere. So if you want to store single data, then that single data will be like the integer values, which is going to be the whole numbers, 10, 20, like that. And there will be another data, which is float, a single number, single variable. So the variables that we were creating, like var1, var2, var3, or the num1, num2, these type of variables are storing single value at a time. But I explained that sometimes you would need to store the collection. You would need to store a lot of values, not just a single value at a time. So suppose if I want to store 10,000 values at a time and I want to work with 10,000 numbers, I have some use of that. So am I going to create the variables like this, 10,000 variables like this, like num1, num2, num3, num4, till num 10,000? If I start to create variables like that, 10,000 variables, first it will take a lot of time to create those variables. Then next, it will be very problematic for us to handle those 10,000 variables, right? So we cannot do that. That is why what we saw, there is another advanced data type given to us, which can hold the collection of data, which can hold multiple data for us in a single variable. So I was talking about list, tuples, set, dictionaries, and strings. I've explained about that. I will go into detail into today's session. So starting from the list, let us see what list is. List is a collection of data. How does it work, and how what type of properties do they have? What type of things I can perform with the list? We are going to talk about this. So you will start to have an idea about what we do in Python programming. How do we deal with data? That is what we'll see. So currently we are talking about the Python fundamental. Slowly, after we understand these few basic details, then we will start to talk about data science related topics. For now, whatever we are talking about in Python, they are common Python tools, which is used in everywhere wherever you're using Python. These are not specific to just data science. Right. So first we are talking about Python components, which are common programming components, and then we will move into specific data science related components. Okay. So let's see. So if you have not joined any of the previous sessions, so I was working on this tool. I have explained about this tool, the installation of it, and complete overview about that I've given in the last 2 sessions. So you can watch that. The videos will be given to you. You can watch that. Now I am just opening one new file, and I'm going to show that this thing to you, the Python advanced data type. Okay. So let's have a discussion about it. I'll say Python data types. Correct? The first data type that we are going to talk about is list. Now, so list has some properties. The first property is that it is a collection of mixture data type. Second, it is mutable data type. Right? Now, what do we mean by these two things? Collection of mixture data type and what is mutable data type? We are going to discuss about that in the context of the list. Let us understand.
Or a data structure.
Yes, list is a data structure. Yes, I'm going to explain that. So now, all of these things that I have discussed, the list, set, tuples, dictionaries, they are called advanced data type also in Python, and they are also sometimes called data structures in Python. Now, there are some common data structures which are there in every programming language. Whichever programming language we use, there are some common data structures like arrays are one data structure. Then linked list is one data structure, linked list. Right? Then we have queues. Then we have stack. What these are? These are called data structures. What is the work of a data structure? Data structure is a programming construct which is going to help us to store the data in a more sequential manner so that it is easy for us to store the data, and also it is easy for us to access the data whenever I want it. Because the data that I'm creating in any one of these files, they are going to be stored in our memory. Correct? In that memory, there is going to be other things also that is stored on that memory. So when I store my data, I cannot store it in a very random manner. Otherwise, I will not be able to search for it whenever I need them. So these data structures, these are some tools that we will see also. These data structures help us to store the data in such a way that it becomes very easy for us to store them in a more structured manner, and it becomes very easy for us to access them whenever we want that. So for structured storage and for fast access, we use these tools. Very similar to that, these list, tuples, set, dictionaries that I'm talking about, these are also data structures which are specific to Python language. These are not there in other languages. So they are also going to help us for what? To store the data in a structured manner and to also let us access the data in a very fast manner whenever I want. So we'll take a look at those components. How do we store it and how do we access it with ease? Now, the very first thing is, if I have to create a list, I give it a variable name, list1. So earlier, if I was creating a variable, what I was doing, I was just storing one value in that. Correct. And if I use something like this, then I will have to create many variables to store a very large data, which is not feasible for us. We can't take that much time to create a small program. So in that way, what do? We can also store multiple values as a collection together. So what do I do in the case of list? I will create a square bracket first. In the square bracket, I'm going to write some values like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And these are basic values. Now I can have lot of these values. I can have integers also. I can have float values also if I want 45.3. Float values also I can have. So it is a collection of mixture data type. Means in this same collection, it is a collection of multiple data. So the collection can be such a way that every value can be of a single data type. Means every value can be integers, or every value can be float, or I can have mixture of those data. So even what I can do is I can have a text also inside of that, string value. So 3 different data types, I've stored that in one single collection. Now, in the real world, when we are solving some problem, we will not be doing something like that very frequently. This is a very rare thing because whenever I'm talking about a big collection of data, that is mostly going to be of similar data. But list gives us this access, it gives us this flexibility to store this kind of data also, if we wanted to. Now, if I want to execute it, I will just either click on this run button or press shift plus enter. When I press shift plus enter, it is going to execute this code. As soon as I executed this code, this data has been created in my memory. And now if I just write the name of this variable, so it will show me that what data has been stored inside of this variable. It has been created for a longer period of time. Next. So this is one way that we can create a list. I can have one value, I can have 1000 value. There's no limitation to that. Now, so once you have created the list, you can do multiple, lots of things on that. We are going to talk about that, right? So if I show you like list 2, I can have a collection of all the text. Like I can have this Python, then I can say it is maths, let's say data science, say machine learning. So you can see now I can have all the values which are strings. I don't need to have a number if I don't want to store that collection. So there is complete flexibility given to us in the way I can store the data. Now, so once you store the data, then you would also want to access it sometime. Means if suppose this collection has these 4 values, this 4 data that I have in this collection. Now, anytime I want to just look at this data, I want to access this one particular data from the whole collection. So how will I do that? Or suppose I want to change this particular value. I want to replace this particular value with another value, something else. So how can I do that? For those kind of thing, there's a very interesting property given to us in Python, which is called indexing and slicing. Indexing and slicing of the data in a list, that is what we are going to talk about, which gives me access to select a particular value, access any particular value, and once I'm able to access that particular value, I can change it, replace it, delete it, or add a certain new value into that collection. So let's have a look at it, that how do this concept of indexing and slicing work. Okay, so for that, let me take first a simple data. Let me create a simple data where I'll take 10, 14, 87, 8. Well, let all the values be of single data type. With this, it will be easy for us to understand those things. Now, whenever we create this data, then there is something called as index number, which is there in all of these data, which help us to access a particular value from that collection. And let's see what those tools are. So I have this list 3, in which the values are like 10, 14, 80, 87, and then we have 34 and 56. 34 and 56. So this is a collection given to us. Now from this collection, I want to access this value, only this value, or I want to access only this value. Or if I want to access multiple values, let's say I want to access these 3 only from that collection. So now my list can have like 10,000 values, 50,000 values, 5,000 values, 8,000 values. And from that, I would want to see, let's say some 100 values, or let's say some 500 values from the middle of that. So how would I go about doing that? This is what we are going to discuss. So whenever collection is given to us, there is something called as index numbers given in the case of this collection. And those index numbers start from 0. So 0 means relatively in this particular data, in this particular collection, 0 means this is the first value. Then 1 means this is the second value. then third value, then fourth value, then fifth value, then sixth value. So instead of giving index numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we actually have like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that, starting from 0. That is the first index number. Now, what does 0 say? This is the relative location. So how do I access a particular value according to these index number? Let's see. Suppose I want to access this 90, only one value from this collection. So first I will need to write the name of the variable. That in list 3, I want to access a particular value from the list 3. So list 3, when I say, it is talking about all the values in this. So I will say list 3. Then if I want to mention a particular value, then I will make a square bracket in this case. And I will mention the index number attached to that particular data to be able to access it. So when I say that in list 3, go to index number 3, whatever data is present there, give me access to that. So at that place, 90 is there, so it will give me access to that. So what I will be seeing is I will be seeing the 90 given to us. Second thing, let's see one more example. If I want to have, again, let's say 56. So what will I write first? I will write the list 3 first, because in this collection only that data is there. So I'll say go to list 3. In that list 3, at location number 5, we have 56 present there. So give me access to that 53 as 56. So once I mention list 3 of 5, I will be able to access 56. Now this location that I'm mentioning, this index number that I'm mentioning, that should be in the square bracket. Remember that. That is the syntax. Okay, so let's see whether it is working or not. So when I mention list 3 of 3, so I should be able to access 90. Am I able to access 90? Yes, I'm able to access just that value 90 from that collection. Similarly, when I say list 3 of 5, am I able to access that value 56? Yes, I'm able to access that. So this way you will be able to access that particular value. Now, you might say that if suppose I have 5,000 values and I want to access a particular number from the middle of that. So will it not be very difficult for us to find out the index number of any value in the middle of those 5,000 elements? Because it will take a lot of time for us to count the index number like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will take a lot of time. So is there an easier method for that purpose so that I can know the index number in a easier manner? Yes. So we have that that kind of tool also available to us. So suppose I want to know the index number of 34, wherever it is present in the data, I want to know that. So how would I do that? Without counting. I don't want to count. So I will mention that go to list 3 dot index of, in the round bracket, mention that value that I want to know the index number of 34, which is present in list number 3. So as soon as I mention and run the code, you will see the index number of 34, which is actually 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is the index number of 34. So that way, easily you will observe that you are able to access that value, which is present in that collection. Now suppose if 1000 values are there and 34 is written 3 times. Correct. Let's say I have a collection in which 10, 24, 13, 33. Then we have 36. Then we have 36. And then 42. Suppose something like this is there. And I want to access 36. So when I mention something like this, let's say this is my list 4. In this list 4, I want to know the index number of 36. So I will mention list 4 dot index of 36. So which 36 index will be given to us in this case? Because 2 36 are there. Both the index number it will not tell us. So which one will it tell? Will it tell the first one or the last one or the next one? So always when you mention the index of 36, it is always going to tell the first one and then it is going to stop. Right? So how is it checking for 36? It is checking the 36 from the start. Is this 36? No. Is this 36? No. Is this 36? No. Is this 36? No. When it comes here, it will see that this is 36. This data is this 36. So it will check the index number of that, tell you the index number, that the index number is 4, and then stop here. It will not go to this 36 to check that whether 36 is present there also. So what to do if I want to know the index number of this also and this also? Both of those I want to know. For that, we are going to study the concepts like conditional statement and loops in the further concept. That will help us to find out index number of multiple same values given in that collection. But if multiple values are there, always we will get the index number of the first one. Out if 3, 4, 5 same numbers are written, first one it will give us. Correct? So that way you can find out index number of that. And once I know the index number, if I mention just list 3 or 4, I will be able to access that 34. It becomes very easy for me. So I don't need to do the counting myself. I just need to know that concept. So that was one value. Suppose I want to access multiple values in this case, then how does that work? Let's discuss about that quickly. Now suppose I want to access these two values, which is 87 and 90. Correct? If I want to access two values, which is anything more than one value. So in that case, the way we access the data is going to be a little bit different. Let's see how. So suppose I mentioned list 3 of, I want to access 87 and 90. So if I want to access 87 and 90, then I would see that the index numbers are 2 and 3. Correct? So what should I do? I will go to this square bracket and I will mention 2, 3. That give me the index 2 also, 3 also. This value I want to see. But this is not the correct method. Do you think that it will be a feasible method when I talk about a very large list? Suppose I have 8,000 values in a list. And from those 8,000 values, I want to access some 120 values, suppose. So 120 values you want to access, you will have 120 index numbers. So do you think that it will be feasible for you to mention those 120 index numbers in this case? Or to make it even more difficult, let's say out of these 8,000 values, I want to access 5,000 values out of those 8,000. So will it be feasible for you to mention those 5,000 index numbers one by one? Obviously not. So this way, if I want to access multiple values, I don't write the index numbers like this of those multiple values. What do we do instead is something like this. So I will mention list. Let me write the syntax. So the syntax is the start index, then a colon, then we have stop index plus 1. Okay, stop index plus 1. This is going to be the syntax of that. Right? So using this syntax, how we are going to access multiple values. So whenever I want to access multiple values, which means more than one, then this format I will take. Otherwise, if I want to access just one value, then only one single index number I'm going to write. Let's say I want to access 87 and 90, which is at index number 2 and 3. So what will I do in that case? I will mention the starting index number is 2, colon. What is the stop index number? It is at 3. 3 is the final value where our last value is there at index number 3. So to access that, I will mention 3 plus 1, which is basically going to be 2 colon 4. So when I write 2 colon 4, what does this mean? 2 colon 4 means give me access to the index numbers 2 and 3. Give me access to whatever value is at index number 2 and 3. So that way you will be able to access the data at multiple locations, and also you will be able to write it in a short form. So you might not understand completely with this because we have a very small data. Let me show you a little larger data. Okay, so suppose I have this. Let's say I have 11, 3, 12, 4. Let's say this is a list. Now we have written a lot of values in this list. But this is a very small list in comparison to what you will be using in the real world. Now, suppose from this, if I tell you to access any particular value, then you can access that easily. But if I tell you that you have to select these values from here to here. So let's see what those index numbers are going to be. It is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. These are the index numbers that we have. So once we have these index numbers, if I go through the normal approach, like what you will understand is that if I have these index number, why not write 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, till 10, right? So one way is this, that you mention all the index number, whichever data you want to access. So one is this, which is not the correct method. The better method, which has been created, which is more efficient, is you mention the starting index number, which is 3. 3 is my starting index number. Where are we stopping? We are stopping at 10. So wherever you are stopping, you add 1 to that. That is the syntax. That is what the syntax is. So it means that you will be writing list 4 of 3 to 11. So when you mention 3 to 11, it is going to select all the values which is present at index number 3 to 10. It will not go till 11. It will only go till 10. 11 we write because that is the syntax that has been given to us. But it will go from 3 to 10 index number. Now tell me, which one do you think is more better for you to write? Is this method better or is this method better? Obviously, this second method is better, right? Because we have to write a very short 2 numbers. If I'm accessing 500 values also, I need to just check the starting value and I need to just check the end value. And that is all only I have to mention. I don't need to index 500 index number, right? So this is the method that we are going to use. Now, let us talk about what if the values are not in continuity. Exactly, right? In that case, the values are going to be a little bit different. The way I'm going to access it, little bit different. So let's have a look at that also. Whenever you are talking about selecting these kind of data, it will be not very discontinuous. It will be following some kind of pattern, so which you can relate. It will not be like something I'm selecting from the very start of the data and something I'm selecting from the very middle of the data and something from the very end of the data. It will be somewhere, some sort of continuity will be there. Let me show how. So one was this method. I hope everyone should be clear about it. Those who joined little late, maybe you might have missed that, but if you have joined on time, you might have been clear. Next, so let me show you another example. Suppose I tell you that you have to select, let's say these 3 values, and suppose these 4 values. So what do you do in this case? Because now there is a skip. You're not accessing these 3, which is in the middle of these 2 collections. So what would you do to select the values which are at 2, 3, 4 and 8, 9, 10, 11? What do you do in that case? So something like this will be there. There might be a spacing between them. But if I'm selecting here, it will be like continuous, some values. It will be continuous. In the middle, I can skip something. In the end, in the start, I can skip something. But somewhere continuity will be there. That is the way we take the data, we select the data. Okay, so when we solve a lot of problems, you will understand why I'm saying. Now, so let us understand quickly in this case what we will do. In this case, what we do is we first write the index numbers to do the selection of data from here to here. From 2 to 4, I will write. So I will write list 4 of If I want to select index numbers 2 to 4, what I will write? It is going to be 2:5. 2:4 plus 1, 5. Then I will check what is the index number for these 8, 9, 10, 11. So 8 to 11, then I will write 8 to 12. So list 4 of 8 to 12. 8 to 12 means that 8 to 11. 8, 9, 10, 11 index numbers. So when you have selected these two which were at a separate location, then you write a plus symbol between them. When you mention plus symbol between them, then what you will observe is that it will show you a result in this manner, which will be like 12, 4, 7, comma, 71, 92, 105, 92, 105, and then 67. Right. So if you do something like this, then you will be able to access the values which are in a discontinuous manner. They are not together. Okay, that is what the formula is going to be. That is what the format is going to be. So let's see this with this case here. Let me add a few more values in this to show you. Let's say this is my list number 4, and I have 11, 89, 23, 76, 32, 21, 90. Let's see, these many values are there. Now, how do I do the selection of that? So if I mention list 4 of any one particular number, let's say index number 6. So whatever values at index number 6, that will be selected. Simple thing. So this 11 was at index number 6 that has been selected. Now let us talk about what we do in this case. So if I have to get the data from here to here, I said that index numbers would be like 0, 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So my starting index number is 2 and the stopping index number is 9. So my code will be list 4 of. In the list 4, I want to start at index number 2 and I want to keep selecting the data till I reach index number 9. So if you want to go till 9, you will be writing 9 plus 1, which is going to be 10. Remember that it will not touch 10. It will be just written in this manner. It will only go till index number 9. That is the point. Now, the next example that I was talking about, suppose if you want to get from this to this, from this, and let's say these 4. So what are these index number? These are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in this case, what will be written? It will be written list 4 of 1, 2, 3 first. So 1, 2, 3 will be written 1, 2, 4. Then it will be plus, then list 4 of 7 to 10. So it will be 7, 11. And now you can access, you are getting the access to the data which you wanted to access. 14, 87, 90, and 89, 23, 76, and 30. Now let's see one more case. Then if they are slightly discontinued, then what will be? Let's say I want to access data which is this, and this, where we are skipping some values. Okay, every second value that we are skipping. Now, how do I access this particular thing? So there comes another syntax, which is like this. Okay, skipping every second value. Now the new syntax, which is going to be that first you will write the starting index number, colon, wherever you want to stop, you will be writing stop plus 1. Then there is third thing now comes into picture, which is called step value. Right, step value. Now, what is this step value? Let us have a look at that. Right, now, let's see. So where am I starting? So I wanted to select the values like this. So my starting index number is 0. This is at index number 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. From 0 to 12. 13 values are there. So where am I starting? I am starting at list 4 of 0. That is my starting point. Where am I stopping? I am stopping at index number 12. So it will be 12 plus 1, 13. Correct? But if I just mention this 0 to 13, then it will give me access to all the values from 0 to 12. But I don't want all. I want to skip something. So for skipping something, I need to mention the third number, which is the step value, which is the skip value. Or let me mention the skip value. Now, how much I'm jumping? Correct? How much I'm jumping? So from here to here, if I'm jumping, so I'm going from index number 0 to index number 2. If I'm going from here to here, I'm going from index number 2 to index number 4. Then from 4 to 6. Then from 6 to 8. Then from 8 to 10. And then from 10 to 12. So I'm jumping two steps. Two index numbers I'm jumping. And that is the value I'm going to mention. 2. So when you mention this, observe, are we getting the number that we are looking for? 10, 87, 34, 11, 23, 32, and 90. We are getting that. So this is another case where I mentioned the third value, where I mentioned how much I want to skip. And that way I'll be able to access it. Now there are more advanced things I can do. I can make it more and more complicated. But let's keep it for the next week. There we will try to go it in more detail. Correct. Now, so this was what we have done. The first thing is I created this list. Why did I create this list? So that I can store this data in a more structured manner. Correct. Because this is something called as an advanced data type. It is also called a data structure, which is going to let us put the values in a collection together. Once they are stored together, it has some good things. It has some properties that once they are put together, I can access that also easily. So list gives me the value. It gives me some tool to access the numbers, access the data which is stored inside of it, which is called index numbers. Index numbers are relative location of that data in comparison to that collection, in context of that collection. And then whatever data I put, that index numbers start from 0 always. Remember that. If I want to find out the index of any particular data, then I can just mention, give me the index of this particular data. It will give me that index number. So you don't need to count it yourself. You don't need to spend that. Correct. Now, so first property we have understood that list is a collection of mixture data type, that and one more property we have seen. Then we are going to talk about mutable properties of a list. So what do we mean by mutable properties of a list? Mutable means I have created this list for 4. Later, if I want to change something, I want to delete something, I want to add more data. So that access I have, that permission I have in the case of list. So we are going to talk about those particular properties. Where first, let us discuss about replacing the values in a list. This is going to be my first task. How do we replace something? So let's take the example of list number 3. In list number 3, say I want to replace this 87 with 78. Say by mistake I've written 87, but at the place of 87, actually 78 should have been. So how would we do that? I would mention list 3 of 0, 1, 2. So whichever value I want to replace, the very first thing you need to do is you need to go to that location. You need to first access that value which you want to replace. So I want to replace 87. 87 is at location number 2 in the list 3. So I mentioned list 3 of 2. I go to index number, location 87. I access 87. Now I want to replace this. So what I will do, I will go to this location and I will give it a new value. That in list 3 at index number 2, store this value now. But already there is a value at index number 2. So then what will happen? The new value will replace the previous one. Simply, it will override. So after running this code, if you check the list 3 in a later cell, in a new cell, you will see that 87 has been replaced by 78. Now, when you're replacing a particular value, it is not that you have to replace it with that data type only. Means, if I'm replacing an integer, it is not that I have to replace it with a new integer only. I can replace it with a string. Suppose I want to replace this 34. So 34 is at index number 4. So I'll mention list 4, list 3 of 4. I get access to 34. I reach that location. I say that index number 4, put this word Python and run it. So what you will observe now, you will observe that at the place of 34, Python has been put up. A new replacement is a different type of data, not the same type of data. So you can replace any value with any other type of value. There is no restriction that you have to replace it with the same type of data. Now, if I want to replace multiple values, then what? Let's see about that also. If suppose I want to replace these two, 14 and 78, both of them I want to replace. So I will mention how do I access these two. So to access these two, these are index number 1 and 2. So to access number 1 and 2, we write 1:3. And once I mention 1:3, you can see that I have access to 14 and 78. See, this thing might feel a little bit confusing, the index numbers, because this is a thing of practice. Once you start writing this and practice it 2-3 times, you will be able to easily understand it. For the first time, it will feel a little bit confusing. Now, I want to replace it with something. Can I replace it with one data? There are two numbers I want to replace, two data I want to replace. Can I replace two data with one? Let's have a look at that. So if I say that, I am going to replace these two, 40 and 78, with, let's say, 65. Can we do that? So as you can see, you're getting an error. So it says that if you're replacing two values, you have to give two new values as a replacement. One will not. One I can give, but there is a indirect method for that. Directly, you have to give two values. Let's see about that. So once I mentioned list 3 of 1:3, and if I want to replace 14 and 78, so I will have to give a list of the first number for first replacement and second number for second replacement. So at the place of 14, 65 will be put up, and at the place of 78, 40 will be shown, 43 will be put up. So let's run this code and let's see whether it is working the same or not. So 14 and 78 replaced by 65 and 43. So this is how replacement works. Again, there are some advanced replacements also that we will start talking about slowly and slowly. First, let me show you some more properties about this list. Now, so first, one property we have seen, mutable property, that I can replace the values. Let's talk about add or insert more values into the list. This is what we are going to do. Add or insert more values. Now, at this point, you might be thinking that where is this going to help us in data science? It does not seem anything related to data science. But the thing is, data science is not like 1 week topic or 1 month topic. It is a very, very large topic, which goes on for 4 or 5 months, even 1 year or 2 years also, you can study the data science. So when we start talking about the building blocks, slowly by slowly, then when we start to connect the dots, then you will start to understand how these things are related. At the start, it will feel very disconnected, like why we are studying these things. So this does not seem to do anything with the data science. But you will understand after a few minutes once we go into the future. Next, so let us talk about adding or inserting values into the list. Say we have list number 3 given to us, and we want to insert more data. So there are 3 methods using which we insert data into that. The first method is insert one value at a time. Now, what is this I am writing? You can see I am writing a statement, but before that statement, I'm writing a hash symbol, pound symbol. Now see, there are two things. I have this cell. In this cell, you can see this is a code cell for now. I take this cell and I go here and I convert this cell into the markdown cell. Now this last cell is converted into markdown. If I mention this hash symbol here, what it is doing, in this case, it is responsible for making a statement as a heading. Make the statement as a heading. As a heading, right? When the cell is a markdown cell. But in this case, if you look in this particular cell, this cell is not a markdown cell, it is a code cell. In the code cell, if I'm mentioning this hash symbol, what is this? It is called a comment. Comment. So this statement that I've written, it is going to be ignored by the Python. What is this statement used for? This statement is used for explanatory purpose, that the code that I'm going to write, what is that code about? So this is called a comment. This is not executed by Python. It is simply ignored by Python. And it is written basically with the code so that any person can understand what that code is doing for us. Okay, it is an explanatory statement. So if I write like this, if I don't have a hash symbol with that, then what will happen? This statement will be thought of as a code by Python. And if you run that, it will tell me that it is an invalid syntax. But as soon as I mentioned a hash symbol with that, what Python will do, if I run this code once again, no error, it will ignore that because this is now a comment. This is an explanatory statement which is going to be ignored by Python. It does not exist like for Python. So what I'm doing, why I'm writing this thing, because the code that I'm going to write now, which is list3.append of, let's say, 67. So what is this code doing for us? That is what I've explained, called as comments in programming world. In different programming languages, different ways are there to write comments. In Python, we use this hash symbol. So how can I insert one value at a time? So for that purpose, I will be writing, go to list number 3, dot append. Append means insert a value kind of thing. And append the value 67 in this list. Now, what does this dot append do? It is some sort of pre-written code, pre-written tool for us, which is going to insert one value at a time at the end of the list. At the end of the list only. It will not insert that. It will not insert that value at a particular location. It will always insert whatever value you give at the end of the list only. So you see the last value is 56 in the list. It will be inserted after 56, and it will be 67. So let's have a look at that. List number 3. See, after 56, 67 has been inserted. Now, what if I want to insert a particular value at the certain location, at a particular location? So suppose I want to insert 13, a value 13 after 10. So how would I do that? For that purpose, I have something which is insert the value at a desired location or desired location or index number. Right? So at a desired location, how do I do that? Only Python code from this file by separating markdown. No, we don't separate the markdown. Markdown we're writing because of the reason that it should be there for the explanatory purpose. If you remove the markdown, then it does not make sense. If you want that when you're extracting the code, you don't want this markdown, so you can delete these things. See here, there is a scissor button. So if you take a cell and you use the scissor button, then this thing will be removed from that. Right? It will be deleted, that cell. So if you want to extract it without this markdown, cut it and it is gone and you can extract it without it. Got it? That is the thing. So you can delete any cell with this scissor symbol, whichever you want to get rid of. That is the thing. But these, all the markdown cells are very important for us because these are explanatory things. They explain what we have done with the code. Right now. So how do I insert at a desired location? For that purpose, we have list3.insert. There's another function which is called insert. There's another tool. So if I have to insert at a certain location, let's say after 10, I want to insert 13. So 13 will be inserted where? After 10, 10 is at index number 0. So if I want to insert 13, 13 is going to be inserted at index number 1, which is after 10. 10 is at index number 0, 13 will be at index number 1. But at index number 1, 65 is already there. So is this going to be replaced by 13? No. What will happen is they will shift one index number. And it will make a place here at index number 1. Index number 1 will become empty for 13 to be put there at that particular location. So what we will do now, go to list number 1. At index number 1, put the data 13. So when you do something like that, then if you check the list 3, you will observe that at index number 1, 13 has been put up, and 65 to this 67, all of this data has been shifted one location on the right side. So where 65 was at index number 1, it has gone to index number 2. Like that, shifted. So this was inserting one value at the end only. This was inserting one value at any particular location. But now there is one last thing, which is if I want to insert multiple values, not just one at a time, but I want to insert more than one, like 5 numbers I want to insert at the same time. What do I do for that purpose? So you cannot insert multiple values using this or this. You can insert only one at a time. If you want to insert more, then what you have is this. Insert multiple values in a list at the same time. Let's see. So I will say list3 dot extend. We have dot extend for this purpose. So when I say dot extend, then in this case, I will need to give a list of the numbers which I want to insert, list of multiple values. So say I want 102 to be inserted. I want 51 to be inserted and 33 to be inserted. And let's say 92 to be inserted. These are the 4 numbers I want to be inserted into the list. So how I have to give that? I have to first write list number 3 dot extend. Then I write a round bracket first. In the round bracket, instead of giving these numbers directly, I give those numbers as a list of values. So once I give those numbers as list of values and you run that, what will you observe? You will observe that 102, 51, 33, 92, 4 numbers have been inserted at the same time together. Right? So this is what inserting multiple values at the same time mean. This is the case. So what methods we have seen? One we have seen was from where we were inserting. Yeah, from here. Right? Adding or inserting values into a list. Okay. So from here we were inserting those. So you can see 3 methods we have talked about. Append, which is inserting one value at a time at the end. Insert is going to append one value at a certain location, only one at a time. And if I want to do extend, extend will let me to insert multiple values into the list, but they will be inserted only at the end. That is what extend will do. I can shuffle them. I can bring that to a particular location by sorting and reversing. There are some methods I'm going to talk about. But for now, they will be inserted only at the end of the list. Now, most of the time, their location does not matter. Wherever they are, if a number is at the start or is it in the middle, it is at the end. It does not matter basically in most of the cases. If it matters somewhere, then we will try to sort it. I will try to change their locations according to my need. So this was inserting the values. Now, when we have done the insertion, might be I would have inserted some values by mistake. I want to get rid of something. So the next process comes up is how do we delete the data? Delete values from a list. Correct. So let's quickly see that. Last few things we'll talk about. Then we will continue this next week. So when we talk about deletion, then we have list number 3. In this list number 3, I want to delete, let's say, Python. This is a data which does not make sense here. I have a lot of numbers, and in the middle of that, there is a text. So how do I get rid of that? There are two options that I have to remove this particular thing, which is this word Python. How do I get rid of it? The first method is I have list3 dot pop. The first method is I have list3 dot pop. Pop is the first method. Then another thing is called list3 dot remove. Correct. One is dot pop and one is dot remove. What does pop do? So it is going to remove a value from a list using its index number. And in this case, remove the values from a list using that value itself. Okay, that value itself. That is the second thing. Okay, so in the pop, what we will write? We will write the index number of that particular value which I want to remove. So see here, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So Python is present at index number 5. So in the pop, I will mention what? I will mention the index number 5, which is the index number of Python. Same thing, if I want to remove using dot remove, what I will mention is I will mention the data itself. I will mention that word itself. It is in the quotes. So same way, exactly like that, I'll mention that value. So whichever seems to be more comfortable way for you, you can use that way, whichever. So if index number feels easy, then you can use that. If this seems easy, then you can use that. Both of them is okay. Right now, so let me run this. If I say list3.pop, it will show us that 5 is whatever value was at index number 5 that has been deleted, that has been removed. Okay. Now, once it has been removed, then don't try to remove it. The same thing with the other code also. I was just showing it as an example. So once the value has been removed, now take a look at list number 3, where you will not see the Python now existing there. Python is gone, that word. Very similarly, if I suppose want to remove something here, let's say I want to remove 102. So what I will mention in this case, I will mention that value 102 in this case, the value itself. So when I say remove 102 and then I look at list number 3, then 102 is gone from that. So there are two methods which you need to know: dot pop, where you write the index number, and then dot remove, you mention that value itself, not the index number. Okay, take a look. Perfect, right? So let's see one last thing for today, and then we'll continue this in the next session. So here what we have is, if I want to delete multiple values, then what option do I have? See, for multiple values, if I want to delete, then we are going to talk about something called as loops in the upcoming session. Loops is a concept which let me repeat something multiple times. So if I want to remove 5 values, then I will have to write remove 5 times with 5 different numbers. So at this point, what I will have to do, I will have to write list3.remove the first value, this 3.remove the next value, this 3.remove the next value. So I will have to write this same thing 5 times with 5 different numbers to remove those. But there is a concept which is called loops, which is going to help us repeat a particular line of code multiple times. Whatever number of times I want to repeat a certain line of code, it can help me repeat. And that way I can delete multiple values in this case. Correct? So we'll see about that in next week. For now, I have a small option if I want to remove multiple values. So let us suppose I want to remove these 3. So for now, I have a small method using which I can delete what numbers are in continuous manner. It's a 90, 56, and 67. But the problem here is that those numbers should be present in continuous manner. Then only I can remove that with this method that I'm going to show you. But if you want to remove something which is at different places, let's say one this and one this and one this and one this, 4 at very different places. If I want to do this, then I will show you a loops concept using which you can remove this anywhere, any data. So let's see. I was talking about these 3. Let's say, how do we do these 3? So if I want to delete these 3 values, which is at index number 4, 5, and 6. They are present at 4, 5, and 6. I want to get rid of them. So first thing I will mention is, how do I access these 3 first? Whatever you want to remove, first you access them. So to access 4, 5, and 6, you write list 3 of 4 to 7. Once you mention 4 to 7, you can see you are able to access that particular data which we want to remove. Then, once you have got access to those data which you want to delete, then you simply mention a keyword del with that, right? You mention del keyword with a space. And once you mention del keyword with that space, then whatever data that you have selected with this del keyword will be gone. Now see, it is not showing anything. So let's check the list 3 after that. You will observe that they are now gone. They are not present in the list 3. At 90 and 56 and 67, they are now gone. Okay. So this is how we can get rid of multiple values, one value. So these are the things. Okay. So I think this is enough for today. In the next session, we will go into more detail of that. We will try to take it more at once. So this was one data type only I have discussed. There are a lot of things to discuss in this itself. It is not still complete. We'll talk more about that. So from the next week, we are going to increase the intensity. So next week, the Monday will be one last session for free sessions. And then whoever has enrolled, we will continue with them for the paid ones. So in the next, when we go for the paid ones, we will do 2-hour sessions from 8 to 10. Correct? So currently we are not doing 2-hour session because most of the people have said that will take some time for that reason. Okay, now. So this was enough. If you have any question you want to ask, so let me know. Any questions you have? Was it comfortable? Was it easy to understand? Any question, any doubt in that? You need to practice this. These are very small things. You can see that any code is not like multiple lines of code. It is like 1 word, 2 word, 3 words code is there, most of it. It is very easy, but it is very easy to forget also. So that is why you need to practice it a lot. And when we go to the further session, we will solve a lot of programming questions that will help us to remember these things, and so that we don't have to sit down and remember these. Okay? Perfect. Right. So you can join the WhatsApp group if you want to ask anything, if you have any question, any detail regarding the classes also. We can discuss there also. So, and you will get access to the previous recording videos if you want to see those. right? Perfect. So that is all from my side. Thank you all for joining. We'll see you on the next session on Monday.